and gentlemen, and welcome to COASTER-net Update. We've got some rumor news today out of two different parks. Jeff, Andy's down in Florida on vacation with his family. They're going to Disney and Universal and all those fun places. So we're going to talk about some rumors. It's kind of that time of the year where we're closing in on announcements and rumors are running rampant. We're going to start with Worlds of Fun, which is a park that we talk a lot about on this channel for some reason, even though they haven't gotten anything in a number of years. That may be changing for 2023. It's their 50th anniversary, and there's some land clearing going on back where the Dinosaurs Alive attraction used to be. And now we've got some rumors and a teaser campaign that has started, hinting at an August 11th announcement date, which is less than 2 weeks away. That is next Thursday here. So, what do you think's going on at Worlds of Fun, possibly for their 50th anniversary here?
Well, we do have we have a combination of things that we know and things that we think, right? So right. The things that we know are the planning documents that have been filed with the city. We knew that they were doing that. They were calling it like land clearing, WOF 50. It continues to gather steam. We could see that it is probably a roller coaster from some of the documents on there. It says that they're waiting for wooden coaster footing diagrams.
Right.
So a wooden coaster. They already have 2 wooden coasters, right?
Well, that's the thing. I mean, I think Andy and I speculated on, I forget what show. I don't know if we were talking about Wildcat or what we were talking about, but we talked a little bit about, it might have even been on a Patreon show where we were talking about Worlds of Fun and the rumors. And it seemed like, I mean, a wood coaster is the last thing you would want to add there. You've already got Prowler, which is a fantastic wood coaster, and then not long ago they spent a whole bunch of money on refurbishing Timberwolf. They came in, they did a whole reprofiling of Timberwolf. They got rid of the awful helix. They put in a nice overbank turn. They put in some they put in a couple of different curves and airtime hills. And I'm looking up our channel. We actually did a Worlds of Fun speculation show about a month and a half ago, talking about the land clearing. And we didn't really have much more to go off of.
I feel like you guys landed on maybe like Launch Coaster or like Infinity Coaster, but we're gonna throw both of those out at this point.
Well,
right?
Yeah, that's kind of where we settled. We said, what do they need? They either need a multi-looping coaster or a launch coaster. That's really what they were missing. But it kind of seems like with these permits that are coming up here, wood coaster. You made a good point that could refer to the structure type, which could be a wooden structure or even a wood style structure that might be constructed out of steel, because the popular rumor now, coming out of an interview that the owner and founder of one of the founders of GCI, Claire Hain, they've been talking about this Titan track, and that seems to be, there seems to be a number of things that the Titan track is being used for. And he actually came out and said that GCI did not get awarded the Wildcat job, which, going back to what we talked about a couple of weeks ago with the Wildcat speculation, sort of confirms the notion that would be RMC and not GCI Titan track. We know that they did a couple of partial retrofits with Predator and also Wolverine Wildcat, in addition to White Lightning. They did a couple of years ago. But it seems like perhaps we could be looking at a ground up Titan track ride that's going to have the new Infinity Flyers, which have I believe they're Class 5 rated restraints, which would be they would be industry compliant to go through inversions, which is interesting. That's the whole reason that they created the Infinity Flyers, because the Millennium Flyers are not rated for inversions.
So he was talking to News Radio 1070 WKOK in his hometown. I'm not sure where that is. And they
is that in like GCI territory? Because that's like my neck of the woods, like in Bloomsburg.
It might be.
Pennsylvania area.
I didn't look up the radio station, but this is where I got the story. It was from their Twitter. And he talks about that they have 2 of these trains built and that they're sold and that they're going to be in a ride in the spring of 2023. And then he points at the Titan track and he goes, and these are a pair and they go together. And he talks about how they were designed to go upside down and that they'll be bringing inversions. So, when you guys were saying, well, what do they need? Inversions, they might still be getting inversions, but they're just calling it a wood coaster on the permit.
Right. Well, and that seems like it might make some sense. And is it 1070 WK? Okay, you said it was.
Yeah, is that a
okay? So yeah, that is in Sunbury, Pennsylvania, which is where GCI is located, not too far from Knoebels, which is where they're based. So that would make sense. So yeah, I mean, the other piece of this is that a while back, when not long after COVID began, there was the rumors of Dorney Park. I'm looking at the video now. There was this planning thing for a new coaster at Dorney about 2 years ago. There was some things filed with the town, and then nothing really came of it. It kind of went by the wayside. There's some rumors that perhaps this could be the residual remains of that plan, and maybe there was a GCI wooden shuttle coaster planned for Dorney pre-pandemic, and now all of a sudden they've decided to move forward with that concept at Worlds of Fun, but instead moved over to the Infinity Flyer Titan track concept, which would allow it to do inversion. So is it possible that we're not only getting a Titan track ground up coaster, not only a coaster with Infinity Flyers with inversions, but could we possibly be getting a shuttle coaster and just sort of doing all these unique things all in one package?
Yeah, it could be all of these rumors coming together. And it's hard to tell, which one came from the Dippin' Dots and guy and which one, people just want to believe. I kind of hope that the Dorney shuttle coaster still happens at some point.
Yeah.
I like going there, but yeah, it could be that. And, one of the prevailing rumors was that they just slapped a inversion on it. So, I don't know, I don't know where that one came from, because I didn't see it on paper like some of these other forms. There's the other possibility that we kind of discussed is that now that the Kaga rides may be a little more up for grabs and they might start planning where they're going, could they have moved their idea of putting this ride at Dorney to Worlds of Fun and earmarked maybe something a little different or a little bigger for Dorney that will go on a different plot of land? So of course I landed on Railblazer right away because I see that come over here. But maybe even just a bunch of flat rides, could be in their future as well. Because when we think of Dorney, I think of recycling and responsibility.
Well, yeah, and as I pointed out, I think I don't know if I did this on a show or just in passing, hanging out at parks, but I think it would be real interesting if they did relocate Railblazer to Dorney Park, to that plot of land where Stinger used to sit, because it would be the second ride from Kaga, from that plot of land, to be moved to Dorney, to that plot of land. Because Invertigo once sat almost exactly where Railblazer sits today. And if Railblazer were to get moved to where Stinger once sat, it would be the second time that a Kaga ride from that plot went to Dorney at that plot. So that's real interesting. One thing I'm going to do live here, I haven't done this beforehand. I'm just going to do a trademark search real quick.
Okay.
For Cedar Fair to see if anything comes up. I don't see anything new. We see Orion and Polaris is dead. Copperhead Strike is live. The Ledge is dead. Hang Time, Railblazer are all still live. So yeah, it seems like nothing new is appearing on the test, the trademark electronic search system. So nothing there yet. So it seems like perhaps whatever Dorney was planning is definitely dead. Maybe or maybe not. This has inspired this Worlds of Fun attraction for the 50th anniversary. But it kind of makes me wonder, what, if anything, is Dorney Park ever going to do? Because, Dorney Park has needed an attraction for a long time. They opened in 1884. So, I mean, 2024 is what, 140-year anniversary. So that's not really a significant number in any sense. Their 150th is coming up in 12 years, but that's a long ways off to just ditch an attraction. So, is Dorney just maybe getting left by the wayside again?
I don't know. They live in a tough spot because there's a lot of competition there. It's hard for them to grow, right? I mean, right down the road, they got Hershey. They got another small park that everybody likes. Knoebels is nearby. And then a couple hours, to the west, you got Kennywood, and a couple hours to the south, you got Great Adventure. There's a lot of competition there. So it's hard to
yeah, that's
something in and be different, really, right?
Well, that's always been the thing with Dorney. If you want big roller coasters, Great Adventure has more. If you want more affordable and family friendly, you've got both Knoebels and Sesame Place, which maybe isn't as affordable, but it's more kid friendly for the smaller kids. Hershey Park, has the big corporate name, and it's got these surrounding attractions to do it. So Dorney Park is kind of in a unique scenario where, depending on what demographic you're looking for, there's almost a better option within 2 to 2.5 hours, depending on what you're looking for. And Dorney Park does all of those things kind of well, but it's not really the best park for any of those things in particular. So it's really, really strange. And Dorney Park is a fine park. I mean, we're a little bit biased. I mean, I go there quite a lot. It's the park I grew up at. I know that you've been there. You're not that far away. So, I don't think
longer than you, Danny Miller.
I know. I mean, there's not really any really bad rides at Dorney Park. It's just they don't really stand out in some of the ways that some of the other nearby parks do. And with Hershey Park has been doing a tremendous job of adding rides and improving their experiences. They put vests on both Fahrenheit and Storm Runner. They just redid the Vekoma Boomerang to Jolly Rancher Remix, which is a fine upgrade. They've added Candemonium. It seems like all signs are pointing to they're about to RMC Wildcat. Great Adventure has put in Jersey Devil now, and they've put in a dark ride and a number of flat rides recently. Yeah. So it's they're kind of lagging behind all of the competition in terms of newer attractions here. So yeah. I don't really know what to make of Dorney here. And Dorney is in that class with Worlds of Fun, Valley Fair, and Michigan's Adventure, where they kind of get made fun of because nothing ever happens. Well, it seems like maybe at least one thing is going to happen at one of those parks.
Yeah, and maybe these will be the recipients of the rides that are going to be leaving Kaga, because the Cedar Fair did acknowledge that they're already surveying those rides to see which ones can move. They said that some are site specific. I think they were kind of temper expectations because they were talking to Ace at the time, what might move, and that they're already looking at the possibility of that.
Yeah, I think Railblazer, as we've discussed, I think Railblazer is probably the prime candidate for being moved to another park. It certainly feels like it would fit in that plot of land back by Dorney. So perhaps this is a calculated move to get that ride to Dorney and perhaps give Worlds of Fun this ride a little bit sooner for their 50th anniversary. I think that's entirely possible. Do you have any other thoughts on the Worlds of Fun topic before we get to the second park that we need to talk to?
Well, like I said before, I'm hoping that they didn't steal the shuttle, but I'm really curious to see what GCI can do to compete with RMC. If they're doing what RMC does, but their version of that, I think that would be a real interesting move. I'm not saying it would definitely be better or definitely be worse, but I would be really interested to see.
Yeah, and they could certainly, if they're going to get into the world of like shuttle coasters and start doing their own versions, it'll certainly be interesting to see, how they compare, but also contrast with what RMC is doing, which is just these really, really fast, out of control, in some cases, very, very large rides, whereas GCI typically stays a little smaller with their attractions. So we'll have to see where that goes. Speaking of places that have both a GCI and an RMC,
Okay.
let's talk about Dollywood, because Dollywood is also teasing an attraction, and they are announcing this week on Friday. So just a couple of days away. So only a few days for speculation here. They've got a couple of teasers. They had this one up that has a big bear on it, right? And it's almost like a wanted poster, like a lost poster for this big bear. And now you called this phone number, and there's a phone number you can call to call the outpost at Wildwood Grove. And what happens when you call this phone number?
Yeah, when you call the phone number, you get Ned, and he's basically saying like, "Oh, you've got some a tip for us," and it just kind of rambles on. It doesn't really give you any information. Like I was hoping that it would be a little like punny, like maybe give us something that thought about a ride or anything, but it just seems to be about grizzly bears. No, black bears, right, not a grizzly bear. It's definitely not a grizzly bear, it says. Yeah.
Okay. So we don't really have much to go on there. We do know that this is expected to be an add-on to the Wildwood Grove area, which is largely a family area. This is where the Dragon Flyer family inverted coaster has opened at. They have a couple of other family rides back here.
We also know it's going to be expensive.
We do know it's going to be expensive. And the one thing here, so this is part of a $500 million investment. This expansion includes a record-breaking new attraction. And here's what we know about the 2023 park, because this is like a multi-phased expansion, because if you've gone to the park in the last year or two, there's lots of clearing kind of on the mountainside going up along the train tracks where Klondike Katy goes up the mountain. So this 2023 attraction is said to be the largest single attraction investment in the history of Dollywood. We'll come back to that in a minute. We also know that the Planning Commission approved a 20-acre site plan for what's called a family attraction. So we have track, a loading station, a queue tent, a maintenance building, and a food area. So this is going on behind Wildwood Grove. We think it's going to be part of Wildwood Grove, and the big bear is real and lives in Wildwood Grove. So we know this is going to be a family attraction of some sort. So we're probably not looking at a Wild Eagle lightning rod type of deal here. I would say we're probably looking at something in between Wild Eagle and Fire Chaser Express. We're probably somewhere in the middle of those two attractions. So that kind of narrows it as it is already. The largest single attraction investment in the history of Dollywood tells us that it's one ride, which, track, load station, queue tent, maintenance building. That certainly sounds like a roller coaster. We've seen some plans or proposals in the past that make it look like a roller coaster. So as far as a family attraction goes, there's a couple things we can speculate on, but if it's the largest single attraction, I think we have to look at both Wild Eagle and Lightning Rod, which were single attractions. Wild Eagle in 2012 cost around $20 million. Lightning Rod in 2016 cost around $22 million. So if we're talking about the largest single attraction investment, we've got to be north of that.
Yeah.
Right. So my initial inclination was to look up Time Traveler at Sister Park Silver Dollar City, made by Mock Rides, which are quite expensive. Spinning coaster also has some launches in there and some decent theming. That was $26 million. Adjusted for 2021, 2022 money, we're looking 28 to 29 million. We also know that Copperhead Strike at Carowinds, not far away, was in the $25 million neighborhood. So now I don't know if I would classify either Time Traveler or Copperhead Strike as family attractions. You've got the spinning, you've got inversions, you've got multi-launches. On each of those attractions, Copperhead Strike doesn't spin, Time Traveler does. But generally speaking, I think we could be looking at something similar to those two attractions from Mock Rides, we know that there's a good relationship now between Mock Rides and the Herschend company. So could we be seeing maybe a more family-friendly version of Time Traveler, maybe a spinning coaster without the inversions, but still has the launches, or maybe we're looking at a ride more like a non-inverting Copperhead Strike, like a Manta at SeaWorld San Diego, which is a non-inverting mock multi-launch. You postulated that perhaps a lot of that money could be going towards a more immersed theme and not so much on the ride itself.
Yeah, they could be. I mean, I feel like multi-launch is what's going to get the price tag up a bit, because I know those mock spinners that don't launch are pretty cheap and affordable.
Yeah.
And whether it spins or not, you know, I think that would give them something cool, and hopefully, you know, something that everybody would like, because that's kind of the area that we're not really looking at, like a high thrill attraction or like a Giga Coaster or anything like that. I think we've thrown all of that out the window. The other thing that I was thinking of before the Big Bear was that maybe, and I was talking to a friend of the show, Mike Flynn, about Butterflies and the Vekoma Flying Coaster, because they have, you know, quite the intricate loading system, and it's pretty cool. And we were thinking maybe that was pretty expensive. But I'm not sure how that fits in with the Bears, unless it's like some sort of aerial survey or something like that. But I could see, you know, like a Copperhead Strike kind of ride without inversions being themed as like a, you know, a search through the forest, or maybe being chased by a bear, or I don't know. Or maybe they're just going to have bear animatronics, you know, like where you launch, like maybe you come to a stop and there'll be some theming. I don't know. I feel like they've got the cash to do that though, right?
Yeah, I mean, they certainly do. Dollywood's doing very, very well, especially with the construction of their resort and whatnot.
And that would bring in more families, and families stay in resorts.
Right. I'm looking at some other mock rides and trying to understand what some costs are here. The park right down the road from you, Adventureland, which has a mock spinning coaster with a lift hill.
5 million.
Yeah, that was 5 million turbulence, and that was just back in 2015. So certainly the spinning, now Time Traveler is much more expensive. It's the controlled spinning. It's on a very large scale. You've got a lot of terrain to deal with. So
difficult terrain. I think that could be a large part of construction costs too, not just material costs, but you know, the labor of putting it in.
Yeah, but certainly you make a good point with the launches. The launches are really what's going to get the cost up here. So it seems like multi-launch, you know, is probably what we're looking at here. And if the plans that we saw some time ago were any indication, it certainly seems like it would be a multi-launch. It didn't look, I remember talking about this a while back. It didn't look like there was much room for a lift hill anywhere there. Fire Chaser Express was 15 million all by itself, you know, that had just a couple of tire launches and a track switch or two. It also had a lift hill. So, you know, and that was back in, when was that? I want to say that was like 2014, I think that was. I want to say it was 2013 or 2014. I know I wrote it on our 2014 Southern Road trip, so it was around that time. So certainly getting to north of 22 million with a multi-launch coaster from a company like Mock as opposed to Gerstlauer is going to be no problem at all for them to hit, especially if they theme it out. I don't even think it needs to be that terribly long, to be completely honest, to get to that number. So I can't find a cost for Manta at SeaWorld San Diego. That seems like the style of ride that we're looking at, because that one was pretty low to the ground. They had a height restriction at that point. They had 2 launches on that ride, so I could see them doing something a little bit bigger and more blown out than that ride, perhaps.
Yeah, I think that could make sense. Plus, maybe they can get a good multi-launch going uphill in a more reliable way. They can get that experience that they were trying to shoot for, you know, and then have the most of the coaster take place up on top of the hill. And then, of course, for that finale, you can come crashing down the hill again. Maybe not with a quad down, maybe something a little more for the family, but it could be a good visual too, to see, the coaster track going up behind the hill, and then there's a little mystery what's going on behind it, and then it comes right back. Also, just launching up a hill is kind of fun. I think I like that.
Yeah. No, they did. They certainly proved that it could be done on lightning rods. So maybe you get a different company that's a little bit more experienced with the launch aspect of things. They did do a little bit of grading, sort of as they start to go up the hill where the train tracks are. So they could do this thing where you maybe have part of the ride where it's visible, and like you said, maybe you got a part. If they replant some of those trees that they tore down when they did the grading, they could certainly kind of, because Wildwood Grove is kind of like that right now, where the trees that they planted and whatnot are still not quite grown in yet from when they did a couple years ago. So it could be one of those things where you tore down a bunch of trees to do this grading and build the pathways, and now you got to put them back in and get them to grow back in. You certainly have the potential to have a well hidden ride, down, maybe not right away, but in the future.
Also, with the cost being so high, maybe they're going to spring for some, slightly more mature trees. I mean, a couple of trees could be $10,000 each if they're a couple of years old.
Yeah. No, that's entirely possible. And who knows? I mean, Wildwood Grove, they even built a giant fake tree. So, maybe they'll build some fake trees until the real one comes in, right?
Maybe some rocky scenery and some fake trees and bushes. Yeah. That way they're always there when you need them. No matter the season.
No, I think that's certainly a way they could go. And even Dragonflyer, which, is not heavily themed by itself, has a lot of nice scenery around it, right? I mean, you've got lots of flowers, you got plants, you got some rock work and some water around it. So I mean, even though the theming is not on the level like a Mystery Mine or even a Fire Chaser Express in terms of theme, just in terms of landscaping and whatnot, you've got some really nice theme there. They do have it's like the Moose on the Loose style ride, the Black Bear Trail or whatever. So I mean, they have like themed this area fairly well. So it's entirely possible that maybe this is like a forbidden trail, for a forbidden part of the Black Bear Trail or whatever. So they might even be, building off of a theme that they kind of have already started in this area on a more kiddie family friendly ride. And maybe they're going to kick it up a notch on like a family thrill type level, which Dollywood historically has been very, very good at, between Dragonflyer, Fire Chaser Express. I mean, they've been pretty good at doing the family thrill ride recently.
Yeah, and maybe this campaign is not a teaser campaign, since it doesn't really tease anything. Maybe it's just a preview of what the theme and the story might be, or the adventure that they're trying to lay out there for us.
Maybe you're trying to go find the big bear. Like maybe he's lost and you need to bring him back to Wildwood Grove. Like maybe they approach it from that way. Maybe it's not supposed to be a scary theme.
I don't know, but it's big.
Well, and we're going to find out in just a couple days. So we need not speculate too long, because it sounds like we'll probably find out fairly soon here. Because I remember, wasn't Lightning Rod announced in like late July? So I mean, this is right on par with what Dollywood usually does in terms of timing for announcements. Yeah,
and they're probably going to need people over there working pretty soon. So they got to tell us what's up, or else everybody just go crazy anyway.
Well, and historically, these announcements line up with just before track starts arriving, because once track starts arriving, there's not a whole lot left to speculate. So I would say if we get an announcement in a couple days here, I would say probably next week we're probably looking at track starting to arrive. So I would put some money on seeing some track here very soon, and I think mock multi-launch is, I think that's the way we're going here.
All right, so you struck out with mock at Worlds of Fun, so you're going to double down at Dolly.
Yeah, we're moving on. We're not going mock at Worlds of Fun. We're changing our minds. It's mock at Dollywood now.
All right. Well, let's wrap it up there, I think.
Yeah, I think that's the way to go. You know, we're gonna get these announcements here in you know, one this week, one next week, and you know, we'll be very, very busy when Andy comes back from Florida here in another week or two, talking about all these new rides. And who knows, maybe there's a couple more to come. We know that SeaWorld is definitely, we know what they're doing already. We think we might have a name in high surf, but we're not sure. But there might be a couple more things. We're still waiting on maybe Busch Gardens Williamsburg. You know, there's
They're
supposed to be
rumored to
doing the
have,
dark coaster thing.
yeah, dark
So
coasters, right?
yeah, there should be at least a couple more formal announcements coming down the road here. So it's exciting this time of year. So as always, I am Danny Miller from Binghamton, New York.
And I'm Jeff Goodman from Long Island, New York.
See you next time, guys. Ride on, Ride Warriors.
Good night.